Hi, and welcome to VIBEZ Daily. This is a daily devotional curated by VIBEZ Church to help you practice the way of Jesus and be all that God has called you to be. You have joined us for our year-long series titled Devoted. Acts 2:42 tells us that the followers of Jesus were devoted to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to breaking of bread, and to prayer. This podcast was created to provide context and commentary for what you read each day. Just before our friends begin discussing today's reading, we want to invite you not only for fellowship, but for prayer as well. We have created the VIBE Daily Chat Group to offer you fellowship and a community where you can state your observations, ask questions about the reading or the podcast. You can join us by downloading the VIBEZ Church app in your favorite app store. Click Join the Conversation and join us today. And finally, we hope that you can join us for prayer. Prayer happens Monday through Friday, and more information on that can be found on the VIBEZ Church app under prayer. Now, let's begin our conversation on today's reading.
Yo, welcome back to the VIBEZ Daily podcast. We are so excited to have you with us. It is day 149 of our year-long series we have titled Devoted. It is our journey through the entire Bible from cover to cover, starting in Genesis and making our way all the way through Revelation by the end of the year. I am back and joined again by my wife, Victoria, my friend Shameeka, who are with us as we are in the book of Esther today. We will be completing the second half of Esther. Short book here, only 10 total chapters. Left off yesterday with first being introduced to her husband, the king, introduced to her uncle Mordecai, who plays a big role in this story, as well as his nemesis Haman, who's kind of second in command to King Xerxes here in Persia. And when we last left off, man, Haman is really upset with Mordecai, and so upset. He'd already been upset at this point, but like he's so upset to this point, like now he is building these gallows so that he can hang Mordecai the very next time he sees him, essentially, right? So we pick up at chapter 6, and that very same night, which is just like already crazy, right?
Yeah, crazy.
That like literally chapter 6 starts with that night. That night the king can't sleep, man. And so it's very interesting. Not only can he not sleep, he wakes up and decides to read from those annals that we talked about yesterday, right? The records of the kings. And what jumped out to you guys as that story plays out? I won't get all the details of what happened there, but what jumped out to you guys here in chapter 6?
I think it was really interesting, this very first verse, because he could have asked for anything. He could have asked for some food. He could have asked for a concubine. He could have asked for anything to help him get back to sleep.
That's right.
That's real.
But he asked for this book of records.
I mean, to be fair, that's probably pretty boring. Okay, it would have put me to sleep. Okay,
That is true.
And he picked something really boring. And like I said,
That's true.
the providence of the Lord, right? To just pinpoint exactly like how long ago was this, right?
Yes.
Like we don't know how long ago this was.
That's
to
real.
come upon the day when Mordecai does this.
Yes.
It was just crazy. Like you just know that's just the Lord's.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
It
yeah.
kept him up. And then his little servants and came right to the right page. Just on that very night.
I was like, look at the timing of
I
things.
mean,
Wow, Haman was on the way to like ask for Mordecai to be imposed.
it's so funny to me.
It's like he probably was like, I got this good plan going. He's walking up, like getting ready to like ask for the same man to die. That the king realizes that, wait a minute, like this person actually saved my life. What have we done for his act? Like what have we done for his kindness? So I just thought that visual, I just visualized him just walking up through this palace, he in the courts, and like then all of a sudden boom.
Because if this happened like any days later, if Haman would have mentioned the name Mordecai, the king would have known who he was talking about. I don't care.
And it would have been granted because again, like the king was like, whatever you want, put my name on it, I'll do it. So it definitely would have been something that was granted.
And if it was too far, in the past, he might have forgotten already who this Mordecai was. But I think it was interesting because he said the timing was great. And he walks in before he can even say anything. He's like, oh yeah, he must be talking about me.
I love that. Like who could he want to honor more than me?
Who else? The pride.
Homeboy is so prideful.
There's no way he's talking about anybody else except me. So let me come up with the best honor possible.
Yes.
Because this
gotta be
me. It's gotta be me.
And that's what I loved about that portion of it, was that like his response was based off of what he wanted to have. Like he was like, I'm about to butter this thing on up because this is actually what I want for me. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, we'll end up seeing like he had to have that walk of shame, realizing that it's not even about you. Like I just imagine him with his little tail tucked in, like having a hissy fit, because the very thing that you wanted honor for, and in a way, like your enemy.
And not just, he doesn't just get it. You have to be the one to walk him through the town.
Walk him through.
Yes.
Like he doesn't just get what you desired for yourself. Like it makes me really think of Joseph's famous line, right? Like, what you all meant for evil, God meant it for good. Exactly. Right? Like, you had all these ill intentions of what you planned to do. You was gonna hang me. You was gonna go get honored in the town, in the city. You was gonna do all this stuff. What you meant for evil, God meant for my good. And like, I don't know. So as you said, the timing of all of it was amazing. It reminds me, like, one of my favorite songs right now, or has been kind of for the last, year or so, whenever it came out. But that Just Like Jesus, like, it's just like just showed up at the right time. Like, it's like the absolute perfect time. Like there was, like you said, it couldn't be too early, couldn't be too late. Like this is the exact time that this needed to happen for it to play out in that way. And it's just like, there's no coincidence here. Like you can't really pinpoint this as like, oh, he just got lucky. Like not the way this whole story plays out. There's no way.
And can we just speak on, again, if I'm comparing the difference between Mordecai and Haman, and how one is humble and one is prideful, Mordecai could have left that situation like, okay, well, since I just saved the king's life, what are y'all going to give me? Like, I deserve something out of this, but yet, like, we don't see in the text at all, like, Mordecai demanding, like, certain things, like, just because he did it.
He didn't even go tell him himself.
And didn't.
Right? He sent somebody else. If it weren't for them saying, like, Mordecai's the one that told us.
That's true.
He didn't even do it, in my opinion, for the credit. That's right. Because he didn't go, tell him I said is what happened. He was just like, yo, the king might want to know. He's out here plotting.
And he goes right back to the king's gate. Like, he goes right back to where he normally goes, like you said, every day. He's not knocking on the palace door like you said, but he ain't been walking around in shame. But I was trying to think about this visual, though. Like, I wonder when he says lead him through, like, the town, like, and give Mordecai the horse. Like, I wonder if he's like, Mordecai's up on the horse, like above him. If he's like below, like leading the horse on foot.
Literally got taken off his high horse.
Literally, like Mordecai is above you.
Ooh.
And I just feel like that, like his wife says in the next chapter, is kind of like, Mordecai is exalted above you now, like, and your time is about to be up.
Yeah, this woman's wise, man. She's like, your downfall is certain. I just want you to know.
For sure.
Like, she don't even seem too bummed about it, but
she doesn't.
But
she doesn't.
I did want to point out, like, I love it. Again, it's not even so much that he has to be the one to lead. Like, he also has to cry this out. Like, do you see? Like, he's yelling. This is what is done for the man the king wants to honor.
Ooh.
Like, can you imagine yelling that over and over again for the cat that you want to hang? Like,
especially knowing that, like, thinking that it was you that was going to be honored. That's just, it's wow.
I could just see it.
You made these details happen. Like, you was the one that said
this was your idea.
Yeah, this was your idea.
This was your idea.
Man.
Just for the record.
I did want to speak on, though, in what verse is this? Verse 13, I assume, when it does talk about Haman's wife speaking about Mordecai, like this being his downfall. I love how it says, since Mordecai, before whom your downfall has started, is of Jewish origin, you cannot stand against him. You will surely come to ruin. And for me, I put in my like little notes on the side was, is this because she knew what God was with him?
Yeah.
Because I feel like it was just one of those things where like we've heard about like you know there's history of these Jews being you know conquering things and being powerful or just these different things, and so I wonder if that was kind of like her heart posture behind like
it was clear that to me that the Jewish people had a reputation due to the God that they served, right? Even back to what Haman had already said, like when he gave the decree, it was like these people don't follow your rules. They don't eat like y'all. They don't follow your customs. They don't bow down to you. Like, they kind of do their own things. So it was clear that they were, as you said, set apart. That there was something different, and they had this reputation as such. Because even in, like, in Ezra, right? Like, one of the things they said was like the reason that matter of fact, it was Xerxes. It was Artaxerxes the one that shut them down. No, somebody shut them down at some point because they kind of went to him and was like, yeah, look at the records. Like they have this history of not, of rebelling against the kings, right? They have this history of just not doing what people ask of them, right? And of like standing up against them. So like you need to shut them down and stop them from what they're doing. I think it was Artaxerxes. They were trying to build the city. They were trying to rebuild the city and the wall, which Nehemiah does. But yeah, like it was clear they had that reputation. So I see that she was probably just like, yeah, man. At the end of the day, like if he was just one of these other, ethnicities out here, you probably got a chance. But like he's Jewish, man. Like he serves the Jewish God. So honestly, your fate is sealed.
You're done. Yeah. You're done for.
I love that you mentioned that because it was in those books that I realized how much reverence some of these Babylonian like leaders had for the Jewish God. Like even when they sent them back, it was like, do whatever you got to do to get this temple back together for this God and put in a good word for me too, like type thing. And so they did have a reputation that was noted, and I feel like the Lord is like, I just love it that these people are in captivity.
Yeah.
And yet, even in the captivity, he is still finding glory.
Oh, yeah.
Like, still making this all about him.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, okay, Jews, you guys didn't want to follow me and believe me and wholeheartedly devote yourselves to me. I'm going to get you captive by this bigger nation. And I'm going to make even their kings bow down to me and recognize me. And, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Which we will later on see, like, there is fear instilled in these people when the tables are turned. They're scared. Yeah. They're really scared.
That's real. That's super real. Yeah. Well, to move into 7, at the end of 6, they rush him back to the banquet because it's part 2 of banquet number 2.
Yeah.
Right, is that Esther has hosted for Haman and the king. Rush him back. He gets there. King Xerxes asks again, "What is it that you want, Esther?" Like again, anything up to half the kingdom, I would give to you. And then she finally says, "Man, spare my life." Right? Yeah. There's someone that's coming after me, and I won't jump right into kind of what I thought was interesting. What did you guys think was interesting in the way that story plays out here in 7?
Her humility.
Yes.
Is that what you about to say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I think she even came with like, okay, like if we would have been slaves,
that part,
like, do what you have, do what you guys want to do to us. That's fine.
Yeah,
I'll be. But the fact that you're gonna kill us and take all our stuff and all like that, just spare our lives. We'll be your slaves. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were you about to say?
No, that was it. It was what stuck out to me was her just talking about like the whole slavery thing. Is like it just really stuck out to me that like she, even that would have been a satisfaction or justification rather than death itself. And just that willingness to do that and to be a slave. And we do see in some instances where people are just like, I'd rather be killed than to be anybody's slave. But she's like, no, like this is something that would be okay to happen to spare our lives. Like, so that was the thing that stuck out to me.
Yeah.
I love the moment they said they like came and covered his head. I was like, ooh. It just got real, amen.
Oh my goodness.
It's a done deal.
Yeah, yes. I just felt like he came back in. Like at first he walked away distressed. Like, what do I do with this information? That like he's trying to kill my he has this plot and whatever, and he's coming up with stuff and he's just thinking. But it's like as soon as he walks in, he sees that, he's like, oh no, that's not acceptable. He got to go now.
You got to go.
At first he stepped away. It just seemed so like, I won't say level headed, but it seemed like he was taking time to think. But it's like he comes in and sees that, he's like, you got to go. And then like again, the irony of they come to him and they're like, one of the guys is the eunuchs is like, oh well, there is this gallows out there that he was gonna kill Mordecai on. We could just use that, we might as well go ahead and use that.
That just adds fuel to the fire because he's probably like, Mordecai, the man that just honored Mordecai, he's trying to kill. So like the whole story just makes sense now. Like to him, like there is no lie in this. My queen is not lying in this. Like it just was fact upon fact at that point. Yeah, but I do love it. It was like her man stepped up for her. She was like, you touched my woman.
Yeah,
off of their head. Off of his head.
Yeah. And again, like the fact that all of his ideas come back on him. Yeah. Like the same poll, like you set this up for this man, and yet now you're gonna die to it. It's just it's really wild. And two, I wrote in my little notes, I'm like, oh, have the tables turned. Yeah. Like now you're pleading to Queen Esther, the person who is of Jewish descent that you plan on killing. Yeah. To give you mercy and to spare your life. Where was that whenever she was in a situation where her life needed to be spared? Right. Like, and so now you're pleading and you have this heart posture of like, oh my gosh, save me. What about the Jews? Yeah. You wasn't trying to do all that, because what you could have did that would have been not as extreme is just try to get Mordecai killed. Yeah. But you went above and beyond.
It went for everybody.
So now here we are.
It all started with his upset over this one man.
One person.
This one guy. This whole story done played out because of that. So yeah, so that's the end of Haman. We still got 3 chapters left, but Haman is done.
Wait, sorry. Well, that's the end of Haman.
Well,
like literally.
The story's still going, but Haman is done. Yeah.
That's it for Haman.
Yeah. So chapter 8, we Esther makes it clear that it's not just her life that needs to be spared, but also the rest of her people. And so she continues to ask for that. And I think just out the gate, what I thought was so interesting was, the king is in this position essentially of like, when I sign something, it's final, right? Yeah. I can't really like revoke what Haman did. So like, what's the alternative? And she's like, man, just let them defend themselves.
That's good. Yeah.
Just let them defend themselves. All they need is let them have the opportunity to defend themselves.
Yes.
Gotta take care of the rest of it. Yeah. She shouldn't say God, but like, just give them that chance. And I love it. He's just like, bet. Yeah. Sign it in. They can do it. And I don't know. I thought it was really interesting to kind of get over to you guys some things you guys see in chapter 8, but like. It was really interesting that it was almost like you have one day to defend yourself originally. That like the original thing was like on that day, the day that they were supposed to. Yes. It was like on that day you can defend yourself. Because eventually she has to come back and ask for a second day. Right? And I just thought that was so interesting. That was just kind of like, you get one day to fight for your life. Yeah. And eventually a second day, and like that's all they got permission to do. But as we'll see, it was enough. But what stuck out to you guys in chapter 8?
Yeah, it was just that that decree of like self-defense, because I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually really like self-defense. Like where before they were powerless, like whatever happened to them was gonna happen. Like they get to fight back. I thought that was really cool. But also, it looks like in verse, I'm assuming this is maybe verse 1, that I think this might be Mordecai's first time actually coming in contact with the king. Before, like, he was sending messages through, to people, to Esther and stuff. Yeah. But it says that, now Esther ties in, the lineage of like, hey, this is actually my kinfolk. Like, the same man who spared your life. And now he gets to go before the king. as a result of that. So
Yeah.
And what he's granted.
Yeah, the signet ring.
The signet ring.
The same joint.
The same from Haman's hand.
Yeah. He said he recovered it from Haman. Wait. Before you go hang him.
Let me chop that.
Let me take that real quick. Let me take that. I don't want that on the gallows. Let me have that ring back.
Yeah.
Like it's wild because again, like Mordecai didn't ask for none of this.
That part.
He didn't ask for any of this. But like the king gave Esther, Haman's estate and like now like literally everything he had is given to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just had a random thought. I wonder if that includes, because in this is a different time, right?
Right.
So I wonder if that included his like family.
His
like
wife.
did
That's
he get
what I
his
was
wife?
wondering.
That's what
I was like, so did they get kicked out? Like, where did they go? Like,
That's what
I feel like he now has like
That's
this
true.
now you now my family. This is mine, including the people, the servants, the kinfolk. That'd be crazy.
But I would probably say no, only because the wife probably so, but like later on we'll see like they killed his sons. He had 10 sons.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it didn't seem like there was some kind of
and
like,
they were not Israelites, so Mordecai's probably not marrying somebody that's not Israelite
that's
too. So
true.
it's probably
Yeah,
that
that's
as well. But it was a random thought. But yeah, so he gets that, and like I said, they get the opportunity to defend themselves, which they take. And in chapter 9, we kind of get that opportunity, right? And so, yeah, what stuck out to you as they, go to war essentially with all these different provinces? And I wanted to call out, the other thing that I thought was interesting is that this edict extended to all the provinces.
Oh yeah.
And so I can only imagine that, like, as we read Ezra, there's all these Jews that are already in Jerusalem that have just rebuilt the temple. Mm-hmm. I'm like, they too are under this, right? Because like Persia still rules Jerusalem. Like, it's not like they're not under a province of Persia. So I'm like, even those that are living in Jerusalem with the temple gotta fight. Like, they were even under threat, right? At this point. So like, it's not just all of them here in Susa or like right around the kingdom that like, even though, so like this extended to all those people, and all of them kind of had to fight for themselves. What sticks out to you guys in chapter 9?
One of the things that stuck out to me was we see in a previous chapter that it seems like they were granted the right to take the people's plunder.
Exactly.
But we see that they didn't.
They don't.
And choose not to.
Yeah, and to me it showed that like they wasn't really trying to have war with anyone. Like, they really was just wanting to defend themselves. And although they had the right to take this, they didn't. And it also spoke to, like, they're not trying to be greedy. They wasn't trying to gain anything outside of their life out of this. I just thought that was interesting that they didn't take it. But I think it probably was wise for them not to, because I feel like in the history of them, it seems like sometimes when they took those different things, they then like adopted a customs that they wasn't supposed to. So I'm like, okay, good for them. They left it there.
Like the idols, stuff that came
Yes.
from that nation. Yeah,
Yes.
for sure. That's what I was looking at too. I was like, wow, they didn't take it because, like you said, their heart posture was not like, this wasn't our scheme.
Yeah.
It was not a game. This wasn't a get over type thing. Like, we were just trying to defend ourselves. Yeah, but I love that they turned it into a holiday.
Yeah.
And listen, Israelites know how to party.
They sure do.
I went and looked it up because I was like, are they still like celebrating this? And they do.
Good.
Yeah.
Wow.
They do. It's so, the Jewish calendar is a little different than ours. The 12th month is usually more around February, March for us, right, in their calendar. So it's actually a couple weeks before Easter usually, like in Passover and all that stuff is when they celebrate this. And I was sitting there like, yeah, man, that's crazy. They still out here just partying, for it's what Purim, I think is the name of the holiday, right?
Purim.
Like, but yeah, they did. It's a holiday Jews still celebrate to this day, man. With usually just like eating, they usually do give something away. They're usually generous. They kind of give something away. It's like one of the things they do, as well. But yeah, it was very interesting to learn that this is something that's still part of their culture.
Yeah, and I love again their heart, because it did say that they use that time also to give gifts to the poor.
Yes,
and I feel like, man, like look at the poor being looked out for again, and like I thought that was good, but also too is like okay, even the name was derived from something that Haman did. When he casted the lot, that's where the pur comes from. And now they have this whole like holiday where once something that grieved them and brought mourning is now bringing them joy and happiness and their celebration. I'm like, God is good.
He's so good.
It's so good to see that turnaround for them.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. And Victoria, I think you said something yesterday, just kind of about God's glory in this season, but it was something else you referred to that I think what I find so interesting. Oh, and I think actually is referring to even what you mentioned, Shameeka, about how they were set apart and how they had like that reputation. I find it so interesting that like it does seem that their most devoted like season is the season while they're in captivity.
Yeah.
Right?
No, seriously, I just thought about that.
Yeah, like that. These are not the Israelites we just read in Chronicles.
No, seriously.
You know what I'm saying? Like just their actions, like you said, their unwillingness to take the plunder.
That's right.
They're set apart.
They're being set apart. The fact they have this reputation for not doing the things that everybody else is doing.
Man,
like
good.
I'm reading this. I'm like, where these Israelites come from?
Right.
We ain't seen them the whole time.
These Jews is good. They good people.
On.
Like they doing they thing. Like you said, giving to the poor when they celebrate.
That's right.
Who are these cats? What are the cats that was doing evil on the side of the Lord?
Right.
The ones who've been disciplined by daddy.
Right. They gone.
The ones who've been in timeout.
These are the ones that's left, right? He said we gonna do right this time.
That's
Lord.
right.
It's just hoping we get to play these video games.
Come on,
again.
humble pie.
But yeah, it just jumped out to me. I was like, as I was reading, I was like, these are some good Jews. These Jews is good. Like these Israelites is living according to the Lord. And I don't know, it just was so interesting to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because of this, like obviously again we talk about how the people feared them. I love seeing that even some other nationalities converted to become Jews.
Yes.
Now you got people converting over just for the sake of like, hey, we don't want no problems with you.
We Jews too.
But you a Jew, I'm a Jew. We all Jews.
Like,
come on.
That part cracked me up.
But
I'm
how
like,
even and how even like their fear that led them to become Jews can ultimately allow them to see the Lord for their God themselves. And so I thought that was funny. They said we could burn over. We on the wrong side.
We on the wrong team. But let me take this sweater off. Well, no, wait. What we wearing? What we Jews wear? Oh, okay, yeah, we doing that. We're the temple. Okay, well, what we doing?
Yeah.
Yes, Lord. Yes, Yahweh. Like, I'm a Jew too. From here on out.
That's funny.
That's for me in my house.
That's hilarious. That's real though.
I'm not mad at them. I do the same thing.
No, for real.
Once I
That
see
was
all
smart.
this thing happening.
That was smart.
I'm not mad at them for any of that. But yeah, I do see. Like you said, God is still getting the glory.
Yes.
Man. Every time. He doesn't waste anything, man. He doesn't waste anything. Like I said, we see that in that 70 years that they're there. Even the time thereafter, like he doesn't waste any of it. That's what we read in Ezra and Nehemiah, right? Nehemiah's position being cupbearer to the king, Ezra's favor that he has with the king. We'll eventually read about Daniel and them and their favorite, like Esther. Like he doesn't waste any of this.
Yeah.
Not even just for his glory, but even just to fulfill his promise, like to ultimately.
Yeah.
Because that's like the big idea here, right? Because this particular edict threatened the future of the Jews, right? Like this was genocide that they were planning. You know what I'm saying? To wipe them off the face of the earth. Like God intervenes is what we believe is God intervenes, right? But like, yeah, this is Esther's position fulfills the promise of God, like keeps God's promise going. Ezra, the same thing. You know, Nehemiah, like all of them, Daniel, like they are just literally pushing forward the fulfillment of God's promise throughout history,
which is a challenge to us, knowing that like how God has created us and equipped us is not for our own, right? Like said, Daniel and his friends got promoted into the palace and stuff because of their intellect, right? Like Esther was because she was cute. Like
that's real.
Listen, if I was as cute as Esther, I probably wouldn't be thinking about the glory of the Lord.
That's right.
And how he could get the glory out of my beauty. Like, no.
That's
right?
real, though.
Like, And even like some of the scribes and stuff, like the cupbearer, like somehow you got close, Nehemiah to the king, and like that was for the Lord, like you said, like all these positions, but it came from like God using something in them and about them, whether it's character or attribute or something that allowed them to be in a certain position that ultimately was for God's purpose. And to me, it's like a challenge of kind of like, Lord, what have you gifted me? Like, what have you like designed in me, placed me, orchestrated so that I can give this back to you?
That's really good.
Yeah, and I love that you're pointing that out, because it just speaks to us properly using our gifts how we're supposed to. Like, there's so many times that you even see, probably in our own testimonies, where we may have had influence, but we just use it in the wrong way. Yeah. We may have influenced somebody to, do something contrary to the word of God, or to like, all these different things. But we get to see with their influence with Esther, and even, just seeing Mordecai later on, or even in his chapters, like he becomes this very prominent, like person that has a very good reputation. And I can trust and believe that he probably used that for the good. Like, he wasn't all big-headed and arrogant like Haman and just trying to, have honor just because. It's like, no, like they understood that their influence was a thing that God wanted to use for a generation of people. Yeah. And so I can respect that.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it ends, right? Here in chapter 10, it says, he continued to pursue prosperity for his people and to speak for the well-being of all his descendants. That's what he did. He was second in command, and he just constantly did whatever he could to prosper the people of the Jewish people. And it's so dope.
Yeah, they made history.
They did.
I love that. It's such a sweet ending, and that's something that I want to be remembered by. Like, will my life reflect something that says like Shameeka brought people to God? Like,
that's good.
Yeah. So
that's good.
Good read.
Yeah. Right. Esther was dope. That's dope. Yeah. Good book. So that brings us to the end of it, though. Finished that book in 2 days, and but yeah, so much there. Pray again this has been helpful. I will pick up tomorrow with the book of Job and get into that. But yeah, appreciate you guys joining us. Hopefully, again, this was helpful. Look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the VIBEZ Daily podcast. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, or download our favorite, the VIBEZ Church app. Visit vibes.church/devoted for additional episodes, notes, details, and the latest merch. Join us next time as we continue our